It all began in the early years of the 19th century in a Burgundy village 90 kilometers from Dijon. At the time, the village had a population of 200.
The commune of Fin-les-Moutiers, in the canton of Montbard, department of the Côte d'Or. On the 2nd of May 1806, at 6 o'clock in the evening, Pierre Labouré, the 38-year-old owner of the farm, presented to the world his baby daughter, born after his marriage to Madeleine Gontard on the 4th of June 1793. The child was called Catherine.
Next day, May 3rd, 1806, Catherine was baptized Catherine Zoe. She was the Labourés' second daughter and the 8th child of this Christian family. Her mother will have 17 children in 20 years, and 7 of these will die in infancy. After Catherine will come Tonine, her favourite sister, and then Auguste.
October 1815.
Madame Labouré dies at the age of 46. Pierre is left to bring up 10 children on his own. Catherine is now 9 years old. Later on, a servant will relate how she came to witness a surprising scene.
I saw Catherine go towards the main fireplace. She climbed onto a chair, stretched up to the statue of Our Lady, kissed it, and said,
"From now on, you will be my mother."
A child's spontaneous action, and the forerunner of other occasions when Catherine will reach out towards Mary.
January 1818.
Marie-Louise, the eldest of the sisters, leaves the family and joins the company of the Daughters of Charity. Catherine is 11 years old. She takes over the domestic work of the farm and says to her sister,
"The two of us will run the house between us."
The Labouré farm prospers, and there is plenty of work to be done. Catherine puts in long hours of work every day. She is mistress of the farm and runs the household. There is no priest at Fin. The church has been left empty since the Revolution. Catherine comes here to pray every day, and she often walks 3 kilometers that separate her village from Moutier-Saint-Jean in order to hear Mass. This is the altar where Catherine often received Holy Communion. A dream will reveal to Catherine a different way of life. She sees herself in a church at Fin. An old priest with a kindly smile is saying Mass, and he beckons to her. Then, in her dream, she goes to the bedside of someone who is ill and finds once again the old priest, who is a stranger.
One day, you will be happy to come to me. God has designs on you. Don't forget this.
4 years will pass before she understands these words.
"You're 18 now, and you should be learning to read. Go to our cousin who has a boarding school at Châtillon-sur-Seine."
And it is here at Châtillon, during a visit to the house of the Daughters of Charity, that Catherine discovers the portrait of the priest she had seen in her dream.
Who is that priest with the kind smile?
"Oh, that's St. Vincent de Paul, the founder of our company, the Daughters of Charity."
Saint Vincent de Paul. A special relationship will develop between him and Catherine. The lowly mistress of the Burgundy farm in the 19th century is going to discover close links with a humble 17th century shepherd from the Landes, who became the greatest saint of his time, the apostle of active charity, who worked to relieve every sort of misery: prisoners, abandoned children, the sick and the aged.
The poor are our masters.
In a century plagued with wars and famine, and in times when colossal fortunes exist alongside the most abject misery, St. Vincent preaches the gospel by his example. He asks himself,
Miserable wretch, have you earned the bread you're about to eat? This bread that comes to you through the labours of the poor? Action in the face of all forms of misery, making the gospel effective.
This is a message for every age. Man of faith and man of action. Monsieur Vincent founds the Confraternities charity, the priests of the mission, who will be later known as the Vincentians, and together with Louise de Marillac, he will found
the Daughters of Charity,
women consecrated to God for the service of the poor.
They will have for monastery the houses of the sick, for cell a rented room, for cloister the streets of the city, for enclosure obedience, for veil holy modesty.
Today, there are about 27,000 Daughters of Charity throughout the world. They work with the street children in Rio, with abandoned children in Madagascar, with the homeless in Paris, with women whose husbands have deserted them, with immigrants, the hungry, the excluded, and victims of every kind of oppression and injustice. They share material and spiritual resources with everyone in need.
I want to be a daughter of charity.
Out of the question. I've already given your sister Marie-Louise to God. Your brother in Paris has just lost his wife, so you can go and help him run his restaurant. You might even find a good husband among his clients.
Catherine is 22. The peasant girl who speaks with a Burgundian accent discovers what Paris is like. She comes into contact with the world of exploited workers and the drifters of society. Her encounter with this misery strengthens her resolve.
I want to be a daughter of charity.
Pierre Labouré will eventually give his consent, and his daughter Catherine will become a daughter of charity. She will live her vocation to the full by giving herself totally to God in the service of the poor. Her whole life will be a blossoming of the virtues that constitute the spirit of Saint Vincent.
Simplicity, humility, charity.
Catherine leaves the beautiful countryside of her beloved Burgundy forever. After spending 3 months with the sisters at Châtillon, she crosses the threshold of 140 Rue du Bac on the 21st of April, 1830, to follow her formation program as one of 112 novices.
This is Catherine's signature, written when she entered the company in 1830.
Catherine will stay at Rue du Bac for 10 months, and it is here that she will have the most extraordinary experience. Preserved in the archives of Rue du Bac is the written account of the events we will be unfolding. The account which, much later on, Catherine will write down on 3 different occasions, in 1841, 1856 and 1876. These extraordinary happenings will be depicted in countless statues, pictures and stained glass windows. It is Catherine's own words, written by her own hand, that we will be using as we follow Catherine on the night of July 18th, 19th, 1830.
At 11:30 at night, I heard someone calling me.
Sister! Sister!
Pulling back the curtain, I saw a child of about 4 or 5 years of age, dressed in white.
Get up quickly and come to the chapel. The Blessed Virgin is waiting for you.
But they'll hear me.
Don't worry. Everyone is asleep.
I followed the child. Everywhere we went, we found the lights on.
God wakes us from our dreams. He shows us paths of light, but maybe we do not recognize his call.
When I entered the chapel, I could see nothing of the Blessed Virgin. The child led me to the priest's chair. I knelt down, but the child remained standing. I found the time passing slowly.
Here is the Blessed Virgin. Here she is.
I heard a sound, like the rustle of a silk dress.
Here's the Blessed Virgin.
I couldn't see her. Then the child spoke to me in a louder voice, and this time he sounded more like a man.
Here is the Blessed Virgin.
It was then that I recognized her.
We have to see with the heart. Move away from the familiar. Break out of our selfishness. Venture beyond our certainties. We have to see with the heart.
With one leap, I was at her side. I knelt down, and my hands were resting on her knees. I stayed there some time, the sweetest moments of my life. I cannot describe what I experienced. She told me how I was to act towards my director, in my trials, and some other things which I am not to disclose.
This meeting and sharing takes place in an atmosphere of total trust, freedom, and love.
God wishes to confide to you a mission. You will have much to suffer. You will be contradicted, but you will be given grace. Do not fear. Tell everything in trust and in simplicity to the one who is appointed to guide you. Have confidence.
Everyone is given a mission, and nothing is accomplished without difficulty. What is my mission?
There will be bad times coming, and catastrophes will rain down over France. The cross will be held in contempt. The streets will be running with blood. The whole world will be plunged into sadness. The Blessed Virgin couldn't go on. Her face showed the grief she felt.
Mary suffers when she sees her children destroying themselves. Mary suffers when she sees people using their liberty to choose evil. Every Christian life must engage in the combat against all that corrupts the heart or affronts human dignity.
Come to the foot of this altar. There graces will be poured out on all those, small or great, who ask for them with confidence and fervour.
Mary points to the altar and to the tabernacle where Jesus is in the Eucharist. As at Cana, Mary seems to say,
do whatever he tells you.
every year, 2 million pilgrims come to pray at the foot of this altar, offering...
I don't know how long I stayed there. The child said,
She has gone.
I went back to bed and heard 2 o'clock strike. I didn't go back to sleep.
A meeting that lasted 2.5 hours. A mission.
Catherine talks to her confessor, Father Aladel, about it.
Forget about these visions, sister. Just do well what you have been asked to do. That is your mission.
4 months later, a second apparition will complete the message given in the previous one. On Saturday, 27th November 1830, Catherine is in the chapel at 5:30 in the evening, praying silently with the other novices. She seems to hear a slight sound coming from the right.
The Blessed Virgin was standing there, dressed in white. Her face was so beautiful I couldn't possibly describe it. She was wearing a silk dress that was as white as the dawn. In her hands she held a golden globe surmounted by a small cross, and I heard these words: "This globe represents the whole world, and each person in particular."
Like a mother, Mary carries humankind in her arms. She comes to the aid of everyone, the lowly, the weak, everyone who prays to her. Let us hear the call to recognize and love every person as our brother or sister.
Suddenly, Our Lady's fingers were covered with precious stones that gave out rays of light on all sides. And I heard, "These rays are the symbol of the graces I grant to those who ask me for them."
Graces in abundance are waiting for everyone. There is no end to them. But one must ask. Let us dare to ask the impossible.
Then, a picture formed around Our Lady with the words,
O Mary, conceived without sin, pray for us who have recourse to you.
In this way, Mary reveals her identity at its most profound level. She announces at Rue du Bac what she will repeat at Lourdes in 1858.
"I am the Immaculate Conception."
Mary, chosen from among all women, first among all those who are redeemed, sanctified by the Spirit of God, Mary is sinless.
Her heel crushes the serpent, that symbol of evil which is ever rampant in the world.
Then the picture seemed to turn round, and on the reverse side I saw the letter M surmounted by a cross and two hearts.
Mary is intimately linked to the mystery of the Passion and the cross of Jesus. The heart of Jesus crowned with thorns, the heart of Mary pierced with a sword, two hearts radiating the power of love, which culminates in total self-giving. And Mary has entered fully into this mystery of love. The secret of every life is love. On Calvary, Mary stands at the foot of the cross. In the upper room, she is surrounded by 12 lights, the 12 apostles, the church. 12 stars represent every person's commitment to mission. We cannot be Christians on our own.
Have a medal struck after this model. Graces will be abundant for all those who wear it with confidence.
5th of February, 1831.
Catherine left Rue du Bac. This is where she will live until she dies, living, working, praying. Hers was a life of absolute discretion.
Father, the Blessed Virgin is asking for the medal and the statue.
Such conviction, simplicity, discretion and insistence. I must speak to our Archbishop about it.
And the Archbishop of Paris, Monseigneur de Quélen, replies very simply,
The medal can be distributed, and then we will judge the tree by its fruit. 30th of June, 1832.
Scarcely 2 years have gone by since the apparitions, and the first medals, struck by the engraver Vachette, are now being distributed. But nobody talks about the apparitions. Still less do they mention Catherine. Like all the other daughters of charity, Catherine is given one of the medals, but she keeps her secret to herself.
1832.
Medals are now being distributed more widely, and favours increase. The medal brings to the world a message of hope and love. Today, millions of medals are produced every year.
1832.
A terrible cholera epidemic devastates Paris. 20,000 people die of the disease. But already, there are rumours. People are talking about miraculous cures which they attribute to the medal. rumours grow and popular piety gives the medal a name it will never lose.
The Miraculous Medal.
1833.
Several accounts of the apparitions are published.
3rd of May, 1835.
Sister Catherine makes her vows in the chapel at Enghien.
I renew the promises of my baptism and vow to God poverty, chastity, obedience, and the spiritual and corporal services of the sick poor, our true masters, in the company of the Daughters of Charity.
1840.
By now, 100 million medals have been distributed. They encourage people to pray and to change their way of living.
The medal can be distributed, and then we will judge the tree by its fruit. 19th of March, 1844.
Catherine's father, Pierre Labouré, dies at the farm in Fan-les-Moutiers. Meanwhile, at the hospice in Reuilly, Catherine is humbly living out her vocation. The woman who ran the household at the farm in the Fan-les-Moutiers will, in future, be the servant of old people.
Good morning, Monsieur Emile.
Good morning, sister. Good morning. Good morning.
Are you all right this morning?
Yes, thank you.
Good morning, Mademoiselle Bertine. Don't move. Rest yourself. A few minutes. Did you sleep well last night, Monsieur Emile?
Yes, sister.
You sleep fairly well. When you get old, you forget what you've been dreaming about, don't you?
Pas beaucoup de choses.
Oh, he doesn't forget much.
Chercher un autre instituteur.
The other day I was trying to think of a teacher's name.
Ah oui, c'est vrai qu'il a une mémoire.
Ah oui,
I couldn't think of it, but he remembered. Yes, he does have a good memory. Yes.
Oui. Voilà, va laver les mains.
Well, now it's time to wash your hands. That's right.
j'ai été voir ta grand-mère Juliette, la fille.
The sisters who live with Catherine at Reuilly will give this testimony.
I remember one of the old men who used to get the worse for drink when he went out. Sister Catherine had to scold him, but she never did so in anger. And when one of us would reproach her for not dealing with him more severely, she would answer,
No matter what he's like, I see our Lord in him.
and she was right. It would have done no good to reproach that man just then. She was fair in her dealings with the old men. And if she did happen to have favourites, these tended to be the most unfortunate or the most disagreeable among them. One of these was particularly offensive. He didn't believe in anything. Sister Catherine singled him out for special attention. When we, and particularly myself, said to her, Sister Catherine, your old devil is a very wicked man, her eyes would fill with tears, and she would just say,
Ah well, you must pray for him.
A person in distress, someone who is marginalized. Each of these is a person, and I have to respect the dignity of that person.
It is Christ.
The service of the Daughters of Charity is at the same time a vision of faith and the concrete expression of that love whose source and model is Christ. 15th of January, 1842.
In Rome, a young Jewish banker from Alsace, Alphonse Ratisbonne by name, accepts a medal from his friend, though he is very sceptical. Shortly afterwards, in the church of Saint Andrea delle Frate, Our Lady appears to him at this altar.
She said nothing, but I understood all. For me, she had only a mantle of mercy.
2 weeks later, Alphonse Ratisbonne asks to be baptized. Later on, he will become a priest and will devote his life to promoting dialogue between Jews and Christians. Catherine passes on to Father Aladale the message that concerns him personally.
The Blessed Virgin wishes to confide a mission to you. You are to be the founder and director of a confraternity of Children of Mary.
This confraternity is now the Marian Youth Movement, which is active in many countries. It was founded to bring together young people estranged from the Church and those in difficult circumstances, to help young people take Mary as their companion on a faith journey, so as to enter into the spirit of the gospel and live by it. This Marian spirituality continues into adult life.
(1874), Paris, the 20th of January.
Her sister, Tonine, dies. Tonine had been living in Paris with her children for some years.
1875.
1 billion medals have now been distributed, as far as China and America. Simple medals scattered all over the world, bringing light and strength to all.
Spring 1876.
Sister Jan, I am now 70 and have not many years to live. I think the time has come for me to speak to you.
And Catherine tells her superior everything. After 46 years of silence, she talks for 2 hours, and with great simplicity she describes the wonderful happenings of 1830.
You have been greatly favoured.
Oh, I was only an instrument. The Blessed Virgin didn't appear for my benefit. If she chose an ignoramus like me, it was because people would not then doubt her message.
(29th of December, 1876).
Catherine is confined to bed. She receives the sacrament of the sick.
I will not see tomorrow.
Sister, aren't you afraid of dying?
Why should I be afraid? I'm going to join Jesus, our Blessed Lady, and Saint Vincent.
At 7 o'clock in the evening on the 31st of December, 1876.
At the age of 71, and in the 46th year of her vocation, Catherine dies. She dies as she had always lived, silently and discreetly.
(21st of March, 1933).
Catherine's body is found to be incorrupt. It is transferred to Rue du Bac and placed under the very altar where the Virgin of the Globe appeared to her in 1830.
(27th of July, 1947).
At St. Peter's, Rome, the Church proclaims Catherine Labouré a saint, the saint of silent charity. The Holy Spirit reveals to our times a new type of sanctity, one that has no wonderful mystical quality attached to it, and one that does not depend on impressive action. It is the sanctity of ordinary everyday life, the sanctity of service and silence. Catherine is a saint, not because she saw the Blessed Virgin, but, most importantly, because she gave her whole life for charity, for God, for the poor. The chapel, a privileged spot. God touches a life. The medal, the message inscribed on it, a driving force in our lives. Catherine, witness for our times. And millions of medals all over the world.
Oh.